I would like to introduce to you one of the graduates of the system, Major John Paul Trajano of the Philippine Air Force. And we are here to interview like what we had last night. We had a doctor missionary, but this time Major Trajano is here with us, and I'm very glad that it worked out this way because we were planning an interview with him on video, but because of Maring, he's here right now with us. So maybe we start off, Major, by asking you, when did you graduate and where?
I graduated way back 1993 at Cavite Bible Baptist Academy.
So were you one of the pioneer students or like from ABCs, or were you a transferee into the system from a conventional system?
I believe so. I started the AC with the ABCs.
Oh, so
ACs.
from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
I won't ask him to sing the aging age.
And by God's grace, I was able to finish the curriculum up to 144, I believe.
Wow, that's very well. So he's a
That's great.
thoroughbred, okay, flying up in the air. Now, what would you say among the ACE procedures in the Learning Center has the most impact in you as a person, as a student?
I remember in the classroom that actually there were a lot of procedures then. I mean, before standing up, you have to raise your flag, and you had to ask the monitor, the supervisor, if you could score. I mean, everything was procedural. And I learned when I entered the Philippine Military Academy in 1995 that the adjustment wasn't that big for me because my entire elementary up to high school I was observing procedures.
Wow.
And when I entered the Air Force, Philippine Air Force, when I started flying, I learned that everything in flying, there was also procedures. It seems that when you see a plane, it seems as if you're free. You can go fast, you can dive, you can go through clouds and everything. But actually, there are a lot of procedures to it. Procedures, engine starting, taxiing, takeoff, even communicating with the tower and everything. But when you do it often, the procedures becomes second nature.
Yes.
So
Yes. So contrary to the usual perception of people that when you go through an ACE curriculum, you had difficulty adjusting to college life or to different procedure. So would you say now that our graduates could adjust easily?
yeah, it's just I think it's just a matter of knowing the rules of the game. When you know how to how the rules are, then most probably you would succeed. Because if you don't know how things would be, I'll relate it to flying. Then, if you don't know how to start the plane, then you wouldn't get you wouldn't get anywhere.
So the whole idea of being disciplined in the Learning Center is something that we can bring even in a career like this, okay, the Air Force. So maybe we go to your career. Why the Air Force or the military? Okay, we've seen the video, and was that a childhood dream, or what was the greatest influence in going to the Air Force?
I remember when I was a kid coming from school, maybe after serving my detention. AC. So when I would walk home, because we used to live in a base until now, but when I would go home and I would see a plane fly over, it always fascinated me, the Air Force. And of course, when I graduated from high school, that was a challenge where I would enter. It was my dad who guided me through this career. I remember he told me, "Would you do something for free?" And to me, even if the Air Force don't pay me, I'd still fly.
Wow.
So it was my dad who told me, sige, you either enter the Air Force or the Navy, but not the Army. I'm really sorry about the Army. So, but he was in the Navy then, so I thought to myself, maybe it would be a new experience for our family that I entered the Air Force. And I believe the Lord showed me the opportunities in this career.
In the Air Force. So, what would you consider as the greatest challenge or challenges that you have faced as a Christian in the service?
Well, in the service, there is always this order or this hierarchy and rank, and it is you always follow the senior. So in the military, one of the greatest challenges there as a Christian is peer pressure. So your peers, but most especially superiors. So in my case, especially in what we do, so we fly. We usually get deployed in the hot spots of the country, like Pulo, Basilan. Pastor Hoagie was with me early 2000 in Zamboanga when he helped with when we started the Bless over at Zamboanga. Well, when so my dad told me that the Air Force would be a better choice in selecting a field.
Yeah. So hindi ba mahirap, no, in mother tongue, no? I love to put in the mother tongue, the K-12. So hindi ba mahirap? Wasn't it really difficult, you know? Like it's always the idea like when you go to politics or all of these things because of a lot of, you know, the darkness in that area. As a Christian, you know, what would you say as somebody who would stand for your faith? And how was God able to open opportunities for you to share your faith in the service?
In the service, I've learned how to say no. Yeah. Just simply say no, but saying it tactfully, and saying no because this is against my beliefs, my convictions. And from then on, then they wouldn't really bother you next time about like going out and even liquor and this stuff. And it's a blessing for me that I have seniors who are showing a good testimony.
Who are also Christians.
Who are also Christians.
Wow.
We have actually I have an upper class who is a pastor also, and I have a classmate. I remember I'll just share this story. I have a classmate once. He was because we have this thing called beer busting. So beer busting is a time where you get to drink a lot of beer. Okay, so it's for Christians, it's a challenge to say no. Of course, you would have your general there, your wing commander, and down the line, and he would say, "Oh, toast." Yeah. I have this classmate who he said no. And because of that, he was reassigned to a ground unit. He was assigned to a ground unit, and it seemed that it wasn't from a flying unit. He was assigned to a ground unit. We did it after a few years. The Lord used him in that area, and in the ground unit, he was able to score some captures of we all know the New People's Army.
Oh.
And so because of that, he got to be known in the Air Force, in the community. And if you look back, it was because he said no, in the first place.
Yeah, so all things work together for good.
Amen.
Yeah, so that's great. And what would you advise a student of our schools who would say, Major Trajano, I want to be in the military service?
Oh, by all means. We need young people in the military, Christians most especially. Perhaps you would be saying that the stereotype is we have old equipment and so on and so forth. But we'll be getting new equipment maybe in a year or two. And join the Air Force. It's nearer to God. And we also have this joke that when we fly, I tell my students, you don't go through the clouds. Why? Because you might see an angel. So there. And also, I'd like to share that in the military, I got in the Air Force, I got the opportunity to be part of Bless.
Oh yeah, I think that's very good. And we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Bless this year. Yeah, tell us more about the Bless experience. Yeah.
Actually, it was I remember I was deployed at Zamboanga, and then I decided to go to the grocery store to get some stuff. Then I rode the tricycle. And then I couldn't explain, but all of a sudden I felt this burden for kids who were begging. And I couldn't understand why, because everywhere here like here in Manila, you would see street kids. But for some reason, I couldn't explain, but I felt burdened for these kids. And I learned about the Bless, and then there were nights that I would think about it, and it's not in any way related to my job. And so what happened was, I believe the Lord was the one who laid the burden on me. And then I saw this opportunity, like in the military, we have this term called CMO, or Civil Military Operations. When you say CMO, instead of the usual thing in winning a battle is through military might, but rather through CMO, it is trying to win the hearts and minds of the people. So our insurgency down south has been going on ever since, and there's still no solution to it. And the Lord impressed to me a verse in Proverbs, I believe 29, where it states, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." And I saw in these kids that they had no vision, and somehow I felt that I had a vision to share, and I saw I thought that this vision could be shared through the Bless. And in doing so, we would be winning the hearts and minds of these people. So just to qualify it as a military operation, I told my boss, "Sir, let's try this Bless, and we'll see how the barangay would respond." And true enough, I believe 2006 or 2007. And up to now, I have friends. Pastor Bonso is here. I have friend pastors down Mindanao. I believe they were able to start around 20 Bless centers. In Zamboanga, Basilan. We're praying that hopefully it would spill over to Hulo, because I believe that it is salvation that would bring these people to, like, it is salvation that would rescue these people from poverty, of course from eternal damnation, but I believe that the economic solution is salvation.
Amen. And I think that's very important. The economic solution is salvation, because redemption goes beyond, going to heaven, but when God redeems lives. This is a wonderful opportunity. I wish we could have more time, but Major Trajano is making an impact in the lives of people around him, and I'm so glad that we could have Bless as part of his ministry as we celebrate its 10th year. And so the challenge for everyone here is that no matter what your students might want to pursue, like Air Force, don't stop them. Okay? because they can make an impact anywhere they go. Major Trajano, thank you so much for being with us. Maraming salamat. God bless you.